man who has done so well for our state and our country. Please stand up to toast to the good health. In church today, he said that he may live up to 95 years. We pray that he lives 95 years in good health, in prosperity, happiness, joy, and love. Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, our celebrant.
Okay.
You can get discouraged when it seems as though I walk in life. Forgive me most of mine. I never knew that what give it to you, baby. But indeed, thinking about your love, when I'm thinking about you, thinking about nothing on the years until I get inside you. Again, I find the heart to smile.
The governor of Bayelsa State, indirectly or directly, is instrumental. He may not know it, for me to decide to come back home and make my presence felt. The reason is that the enormous peace he has brought to the state. I remember years ago, I was threatening that if I come back home, they will kidnap me. I said, if they kidnap me, I will eat the same food with them. But he has brought so much peace and grace to the Bayelsa State that we all are proud of him, and we are proud to come back home to say we are Bayelsans, where there is no kidnapping and so on. So 3 years ago, I embarked on constructing a befitting place where I can say, as an elder statesman, where I can be consulted by the citizenry, the chiefs, be you an industrialist or who is trying to go into manufacturing, anything, where I can render my service free of charge. So I decided that to respect our governor, I wasn't going to celebrate my Thanksgiving service in Lagos. Usually after the celebration of 1 month in Lagos, I would have come straight away to give thanks to God in my own state. So what I did was to suspend it because of the election, to make sure he came back on his mandate and second term to rule us, to rule this state. So this is why I had a delayed Thanksgiving, which was done today. And by the grace of God, my prediction came through. I remember the interview I gave, I think around February or some time ago, that he's definitely going to come back. We're going to make sure he comes back. And nothing is beyond the Almighty, most merciful Father. Today he's here. He has 4 years, but effective 2 years to govern the state. The rest 2 years will be, you know, political activities. I am back home to be with my people, and in fact I'm surprised the kind of crowd, the personalities I saw today, and yet last night, the people I saw last night, the people I saw in church. I was so overwhelmed with joy that I want to thank all of you, everybody, from the Sivazaki lecture for me, the night party organized by my wife, the service organized by the church, and then this evening, when I came here this evening, I was overwhelmed with the decor of this hall. This hall has never seen this kind of decor before in Bayelsa State. So whoever we brought, we need to copy this one for our state, so that when there are ceremonies here, the befitting decor will take place. Your Excellency, sir, I don't have much to say, but I want to thank all of you present. None of you will be missing here next year. As much as you are all healthy, our mother is here. I was shocked when you walked in here. we look onto her. She's 80. Mommy is 90, and I'm hoping to be 90. I'm keying into her age, so you better key into my own if you like me. And I want to seize this opportunity to thank all of you that came from Abuja, America, Lagos, and so on. I don't have anything else to say than to say, Onwao, Waringo Onwao, Omomietio, Onwao. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. May God bless you now. 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 And always.
And gentlemen, Noah, Noah, as my friend and brother Serena will say, Noah. I feel very happy and elated today that we are celebrating the living and not the dead. As a Jaws, we are used to celebrating when people like this die. But today is one day that will go in the annals of the history of this state, that we are here gathered together to celebrate the life of our elder, of our leader, who has been involved in virtually everything concerning the Ijaw nation and indeed the creation of Bayelsa State. He has put in all that he could to ensure this state was created. And upon creation, he came into this state and invested one of the old hotels we have, the Brass Suits, is Falogi's handwork. As a serving commissioner under President Goodluck Jonathan, I remember that he came and he went round all of us to say, look, honorable commissioners, come and invest in my insurance company, Sovereign Trust Insurance Company. Sir, I still have some unclaimed dividends there. And he took everything about this state as his own. And so you can go on and on and on to recount and speak about Falogi. Back when they said the welcome address will be taken by one of our very senior citizens, I said, I know when this man sends me text messages every morning, it is not less than 5 pages, even in the phone. And today you want this historian ambassador to now give this welcome address, we will not leave this place again. And true to type, he pictured and captured all the situations. And I'm sure that even though it took time, we were all refreshed with everything that he was talking about. As I said, we are used to sending people outside this country. Oh, so elder is sick. Governor, we need your intervention. And the government will intervene. And some of them will go and some will not even return, like the case of Chief TKO Okorotie that we buried recently. Some of them will go and return. The case of Amba Mbawe, he went and never returned. And I think that the best that we can give, even as a government, is to honor and celebrate these founding fathers of our state, these people who have come to contribute to our state. There was one part he didn't say. He actually came to my office and said, look, Your Excellency, because of the peace, I'm tempted to return. I'm very afraid of being kidnapped because they think that I still have money. And I said, Elder, you have money. He said, no, Your Excellency. I said, well, we can leave that argument for another day. But as long as I know, and Bayelsans know, you are one of our billionaires that we are proud of. And he went on to say that, okay, even if you say so, I want to sell my house. The house that he has built, completed, here in Yenagoa. And I looked at him and I said, Elder, you want to sell the house to who? He said, to you. I said, okay, sir. I will buy the house. But before I buy the house, you have to live there and let me know that the house is functional before I buy the house. He said, look, you will like that house. Come with me, let's go and see. I know you know the area, but let's go and see it. I said, sir, try and live there and make the house functional. He knew where I was coming from, so he didn't argue. And I said, sir, don't sell that house to anybody. If people like you return to the States, it will again tell the world that Bayelsa is peaceful. And today, we have him not only staying in his house, he's attracting the cream, la cream of Nigeria to Bayelsa State. The house is functional. I've been there myself. And in fact, that area is even a no-go area because just directly opposite him is a rear admiral. And the whole area is occupied by the kind of people that you cannot go near. If you go near there, now you sabi. Some group of people yesterday, I don't know what happened in Oyo State, attempted suicide by going to take over the governor's office and the House of Assembly. As far as I'm concerned, that is attempting suicide. I don't see how anybody, no matter how armed, to go and take over the governor's office and the House of Assembly. Well, the rest is history now, because we hear that most of them have been promptly arrested, and the whole of that area has been declared a no-movement zone. So if you go to where Ephraim Balogi is, you want to commit suicide. But more importantly for today, I don't want to be a governor that will be responsible for burials and or for sending people for medicals. Today we are not invited for medicals. I'm not saying that's too bad, no, because we have to take care of our leaders and our elders. But because we are very happy with Elder Fallory for its contributions to our state, its contributions to our country, I would like to, on behalf of the government of Bayelsa, support our elder with the sum of 10 million naira. He has talked about the decorations. Not only the decorations here, the dinner that we have all taken here. And you can see that the elder arguably is still the billionaire that we have. This has been not only today, it started some 2 days back. I was expected yesterday, but for prior scheduled government functions, I was unable to meet up yesterday. And I was in touch with my colleague from Osun State that, where is Professor Zaiki? Advocating for a dancing competition between myself and the governor of Osun. We will also bring you in to be the umpire, eh? There will be no dancing competition. But you know that we have dancing skills in Bayelsa. And if he appears to be doing better than me, I will invite my supporter. You know that the governor, aside from the church, is also from a family of dancers, well recognized internationally. So don't try to pair us in dancing. But all the same, I think that everybody is happy with you, Elder. People are saying 95 years. Our leader and our father, Ike Clerk, is almost 97 or 98? Yeah, 97. So he's almost there. In 3 years' time, he will hit the 3 weeks' time, 97. In 3 years' time, he will hit the century. He would have lived for a century. Our elder today is an octogenarian. And so our best wish for him is to also hit the century. So on behalf of your government, on behalf of the good people of Bayelsa State, we wish you a happy birthday and another 20 birthdays to come. You will be functional, you will be alive, you will be lively, and you will become younger than even what we have seen today. And you will be a blessing to this state. As you are today, you will be more of a blessing. Your children will be blessing and assets to this state. Your grandchildren will be for signs and wonders. And this state will continue to benefit from your genealogy. Ijaws are traditionally matrilineal. It's not just because he didn't want to go to Lebanon. No. The Ijaws are matrilineal. And so, as at that time, if you marry an Ijaw woman, be sure that your child is not going with you. The child will be taken by us. And that is why Chief Falogi was taken. It took a long while for the fathers to protest and protest and protest. And today, we are all answering our fathers and matrilineal lineages. Otherwise, Ijaw generally, from River State Ijaw to Bayelsa, to Delta, to Edo, to Ondo, we are all matrilineal. And that's why you can become a chief in your mother's community. In fact, you own that land. As we speak, Falogi owns that place where he was. And that's why he was made a chief. And so, beyond the fact that he opted for the green, white, green, the truth is that as Ijaws, we were matrilineal. I haven't said that. I want to appreciate all of us who have turned in here. In fact, somebody was asking me, Your Excellency, is it that they don't know that this type of chopping is going on here? Today, we are not seeing your foot soldiers. In way, in no way. I said, yes. It's not that they don't know. The truth was that they knew that I was outside the state. And so most of them didn't know that I have returned. If they knew that the governor was back and our elder was having this program here, there is no way Iwe and in no way would have been at the back seat there. But today, we have a quality, very high quality Bayelsans, friends of Falogi that are here.
the praises of International Foundation, and we are here today on this very occasion in honor of this great eminent Nigerian who had in every aspect of his endeavor stood out prominently with marks of legacies. The Signature International is an organization spread across the United Kingdom, Ghana, South Africa, Nigeria, and other parts of the nations of the world. Now, what do? We look out for men who are influencials of society, men who have given their life to add value and bring meaning to society, men who stand out with integrity. And this we have found in this great eminent Nigerian, and we feel it is an honor to be here today. It will interest you to know that class of award, and we are glad that we're here today. Some of those who have received this particular award or awards from us are the persons of His Excellency Dr. Ebele Goodluck Jonathan. The
award presented to His Highness Dr. Ephraim Faga Falogi Smith Jr. DMS OON. We wish you a happy birthday, more grace and longer life and good health. On behalf of the Signature International, this notable award to you, sir. Congratulations.
Nobel Award presented to Dr. Ephraim Faga Falogi Smith Jr. for promoting and upholding the virtue of unity, honesty, integrity with an understanding contribution to the progress and development of the body of Christ and nation building. This award affords you the image of an international figure awarded on the 14th day of April 2024.
Of the leadership, we say congratulations to you.
say good evening to all my elders, my fathers in the Lord, elder statesmen of the land, my mommies, my aunties, my uncles, my sisters, and my brothers. I would like to thank you all for being gracious enough to attend this event, to leave your homes and your houses and your families in some cases, to drive here, fly here, however you got here, to be with us tonight. We thank you all. We thank God for journey mercies for bringing you here, and we pray that God will take you back home safely. As we celebrate the 80th birthday of my father, for those who haven't reached, we pray that you reach there. For those who are over, we pray that you get to 90. We pray that you will live long, fruitful, and enjoyable lives. And as you go home tonight and tomorrow, we pray that you leave here with fond memories of our father. We pray that we hope that you've eaten well, you've drank well, and if you haven't, please see me. There's more where it came from. So I would like to thank you all once again for being here and for making this a successful event. Thank you.
Looking up to, I want to wish him the 100 years that the governor has also decreed by the decree of the governor. And we are all going to key into that. That anointing will flow into all of us that are here. But for today, you can say that the party has come to an end, but let the dancing continue. God bless.
So this
As the Biscon Latino Show, BOS, the globally acknowledged leading brand in the cutting-edge, inimitable production of groundbreaking events dating back many decades, prepares to celebrate its Silver Jubilee anniversary. It's time to blow our own trumpet resoundingly, stating the qualities that have continued to endear the BOS brand to all our fans across and beyond Nigeria. In the last 25 years, the Biscon Latino Show, BOS, which is the longest-running general interest magazine program on television in Nigeria, has covered and broadcasted events of social, economic, corporate, political, and entertainment values every week unfailingly. With iconic events dating back many decades captured for posterity, BOS honors those living and immortalizes the dead everlastingly. The Biscon Latino Show, BOS, proudly boasts of being one of the broadcast outfit with the richest library of archives of past events. The Biscon Latino Show's awesome archive of iconic events parade the coverage of convocations of universities, coronations of traditional rulers, inaugurations of state governors in Nigeria, the inaugurations of Nigerian presidents, and President Barack Obama of the United States of America. 2010 World Cup in South Africa, covered by the ubiquitous Bisi Olatilo Show, BOS. BOS was also at the inauguration of the Alake of Egbaland 16 years ago, Oba of Benin 8 years ago, Oni of Ife, Ulu of Wari, and many more. As for the birthday, anniversary, and weddings of the high and mighty in the society, the BOS archives is replete with very exciting pan and beyond Nigerian super coverages. As for the festivals like Calabar Carnival, Ujude Oba Festival of the Ijebus, Lishabi Festival of the Egbas of Ogun State, and others, the Bisi Olatilo Show BOS simply is the toast of all. The corporate concerns, the banks, telecommunication companies, and other business concerns have made BOS their prime choice over the years. The newspapers, state governments would rather the almighty Bisi Olatilo Show give the coverage of their awards our inimitable packaging as exemplified by what we have in the awesome BOS archives. The Bisi Olatilo Show, BOS, is the preferred choice of state governments in the propagation and publicity of their programs to their different constituents in different states, because the Bisi Olatilo Show is the #1 program they've all been watching religiously in the last 25 years. In fact, the Bisi Olatilo Show, BOS, commissioned to provide a comprehensive nationwide campaign program for President Goodluck Jonathan, President Muhammadu Buhari, and President Bola Tinubu, which took the BOS team around the country campaigning for votes for the candidates at the time. The Bisi Olatilo Show, BOS, was also involved in rigorous campaign for Governor Duoye Diri of Bayelsa State, Senator Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, and Governor Gboyega Oyetola of Osun State. Incidentally, these were all clients of BOS from the two different political parties, APC and PDP. Also, in the very rich archives of BOS, with events that span over 25 years, is the one where BOS paid an everlasting honor to immortalize Nigeria's First Lady of all times, Mrs. Stella Obasanjo, who died 19 years ago. The Bisi Olatilo Show, BOS, the first and the best, still remains on the very top of our game.
Thank you for joining us today on Biscon Television Foreign News. I'm Stella Opara. In the news, 14 dead in Russian missile strike on Chernihiv in Ukraine. New strike hits public transport in Greece. 70 killed as Afghanistan hit by heavy rains. And Israel makes own decisions, Netanyahu says after Cameroon talks. We'll bring you details of these and more after the short break. Welcome back. You're watching Biscon Television Foreign News. Now the news in full. The Republican-controlled U.S. House of Representatives has delivered 2 articles of impeachment against President Joe Biden's top border security official to the Democratic Majority Senate, which is expected to quickly defeat the effort. House Republican managers who hope to argue their case for removing Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas from office read aloud to the Senate their charges of failing to enforce U.S. immigration laws and lying to Congress. The politically charged effort comes following record-setting levels of illegal immigration last year. Voters cite immigration as a top concern ahead of the November 5 presidential and congressional elections. The 100 senators are due to be sworn in as jurors for a trial that could take at least a week. However, top Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer is expected to try to end it before it starts. He and other Democrats argue that House Republicans are motivated by political concerns and have failed to demonstrate illegal actions on Mayorkas' part. Now, inflation in South Africa eased for the first time this year in March, dropping 0.3 percentage points to 5.3%. Official data showed on Wednesday, ahead of general election in May. Following a 2-month upswing, the decrease helped keep the rate within the central bank's official target range, National Statistics Agency (STATSA) said. The rate has held its ground between 5% and 6% since September 2023, it said. After reaching a peak of 14% a year ago, the inflation rate for food and non-alcoholic beverages slowed to 5.1% in March from 6.1% in February. Up 6.3%, 6.0% and 5.9% respectively. Education, health, and housing were among the categories registering the highest annual price changes. The economy is among voters' main concerns as South Africans head to the poll on May 29 amid high unemployment, poverty, and sluggish growth. The central bank has set a target for inflation of between 3 and 6% and kept its main interest rate unchanged at 8.25% in March. Ukrainian officials have reported that a Russian missile attack has killed 14 people in the city of Chernihiv in northern Ukraine. Ukraine's interior minister said that there were more than 60 injured in the attack, which hit an 8-story building in a densely populated area. The attack came hours after reports of a Ukrainian strike on a Russian military airfield in occupied Crimea. Details have yet to be confirmed, although local social media channels shared a video of an apparent fire on the airfield at Jankoy in northern Crimea. In Chernihiv, acting mayor Alexander Lomako said one building had suffered a direct hit from one of the Russian missiles and several floors had been damaged. The presidential office in Kyiv said another 4 high-rise buildings, a hospital, dozens of cars and a higher education institution were all damaged in the attack. Ukrainian Interior Minister Ihor Klimenko said 2 children were among the casualties and police were searching the rubble for further victims. We take a short break now to come back with the rest of the news. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Biscon Television Foreign News. Now to the rest of the news. Greece's largest union on Wednesday staged a 24-hour walkout that hit public transport and ferry services to the islands. The General Confederation of Greek Workers called the strike to protest the cost of living and demand higher wages and the restoration of collective bargaining. The action knocked out ferry services to the Aegean and Ionian Islands and the Athens metro. Police estimated around 4,000 people also demonstrated in the central Athens in support of the strike. Hospital doctors also went on strike, while taxis and buses held work stoppages in support. Another strike by civil servants has been called on May 21. This was the second such strike in 6 weeks, with social discontent against the conservative government of Kyriakos Mitsotakis mounting less than a year after the re-election of his New Democracy Party. Union leaders have criticized ongoing labor market deregulation and low wages at a time when the economy is growing. But the ruling party remains ahead of the opposition in the polls, less than 2 months before June 9 European Parliament elections. In another story, around 70 people have been killed by heavy rains lashing Afghanistan over the past 5 days, the government's Disaster Management Department said Wednesday. Afghanistan was parched by an unusually dry winter which desiccated the earth, exacerbating flash flooding caused by spring downpours in most provinces. Disaster management spokesman Jana Sayek said approximately 70 people lost their lives as a result of rains between Saturday and Wednesday. 56 others have been injured, he said, while more than 2,600 houses have been damaged or destroyed and 95,000 acres of farmland wiped away. Given a smaller death toll last week, Sayek said most fatalities at the point had been caused by roof collapses resulting from the deluge. Neighboring Pakistan has also been hammered by spring downpours, with 65 people killed in storm-related incidents as rain falls at nearly twice the historical average rate. The United Nations last year warned that Afghanistan is experiencing major swings in extreme weather conditions. After 4 decades of war, the country ranks among the nations least prepared to face extreme weather events, which scientists say are becoming more frequent and severe due to climate change. At least 25 people were killed in a landslide after massive snowfall in eastern Afghanistan in February, while around 60 were killed in a 3-week spate of precipitation ending in March. Israel will make its own decisions about how to defend itself, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says, as Western countries pleaded for restraint in responding to a volley of attacks from Iran. The United States, European Union and G7 group of industrialized nations all announced plans to consider tighter sanctions on Iran, seen as aimed at calming Israel and persuading it to rein in its retaliation for the first ever direct Iranian strikes after decades of confrontation by proxy. Netanyahu met the German and British foreign ministers David Cameron and Annalena Baerbock, who both traveled to Israel as part of a coordinated push to keep confrontation between Israel and Iran from escalating into a regional conflict fueled by the Gaza war. Earlier, Cameron said it was now apparent Israel planned to retaliate for the Iranian missile and drone strikes, which Tehran launched on Saturday in response to a presumed Israeli airstrike that killed military officers at its embassy in Syria. Meanwhile, Baerbock said escalation would serve no one, not Israel's security, not the many dozens of hostages still in the hands of Hamas, not the suffering population of Gaza, not the many people in Iran who are themselves suffering under the regime, and not the third countries in the region who simply wants to live in peace. And that's it on Biscon Television Foreign News. I'm Stella Opara. Thank you for staying with us.
PDP crisis. Ahead of National Executive Council's meeting, the crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party, PDP, continues as the party's National Executive Council meeting is scheduled to take place on Thursday, 18th April. There have been calls in some quarters for the removal of the party's acting national chairman, Umar Damagum, over allegation of party sabotage. It all started when about 60 lawmakers threatened to withdraw from the party over alleged control of the party's National Working Committee, NWC, by the ruling All Progressives Congress. The lawmakers' threat came on the heels of the recent appointment of caretaker committees to run the PDP in Rivers and other states by the Umar Damagum-led National Working Committee. According to the parliamentarians, this act by the acting chairman, Damagum, who they claim is occupying the office wrongly, will destroy the PDP party. This led to the calling of Damagum's resignation to pave way for someone from the north-central geopolitical zone to take the affairs of PDP, as it is only legal and appropriate for a person from the geopolitical zone to succeed the former chairman, Senator Iyorchia Ayu, Benue State, who was removed on March 28, 2023. Damagum, former PDP National Deputy Chairman, North, became the party's acting national chairman following the suspension of the party's national chairman, Iyorchia Ayu, by the court. The court action leading to Ayu's suspension was filed by a PDP member, Dahide Utang, who based his request on an earlier vote of no confidence passed on Ayu by the executives of his ward, Igiorov Ward, Boku local government area of Benue State. Amidst the ongoing crisis, a former governor of Benue State, Gabriel Soswan, and a former deputy national secretary of the PDP, Dr. Emmanuel Agbo, is pushing for the position of the PDP national chairman. This has brought rivalry between the 2023 presidential candidate of the party, Atiku Abubakar, and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory FCT, Nyesom Wike. While Atiku's camp is backing Soswan, who is from North Central, to complete the tenure of the suspended party chairman, Ayu, the Wike's camp, supported by some PDP governors, is pushing for Damagum, who is from the Northeast, to be confirmed as the substantive chairman to complete Ayu's tenure, as Wike's group also wants the North Central to produce the national deputy chairman. It would be recalled that Atiku and Wike fell apart in the build-up to the 2023 general elections, after Atiku beat Wike to the PDP presidential ticket and also did not pick him as a running mate for the election. According to history, the leadership position in the party has always been rotational. It could be recalled that when Bamaga Tukur was removed, Adamu Muazu was brought in from Northeast as his replacement. After Adamu Muazu resigned his position as the party's chairman, Modu Sheriff stepped in. Therefore, ordinarily, it should be the North Central to decide the replacement of Ayu, as it has always been. Meanwhile, a northern group has rejected the overtures of the 2023 presidential candidate of the party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and rooted for the leadership of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Chief Nyesom Wike. The Arewa PDP Transparency Group said the recent media war over who becomes the national leader of the major opposition party to champion the affairs of the PDP in Thursday's NEC meeting was unnecessary, since Wike has the capacity to turn the fortunes of the party around for good. According to the group leader, Honorable Haruna Bacha, leadership means care, concern and responsibility. It is not self-serving, not periodic, and not spontaneous. In order to resolve the crisis, the party needs to come together as whole and address each problem, engage in dialogue and compromise with party's members in order to reach a resolution. Unity and solidarity among members is key in order to move past the crisis and focus on the party's broader goals and objectives. Also, when selecting new leaders for the party, it is important to consider diversity and inclusivity in terms of race, gender, age, and background. Having a diverse leadership team can bring different perspectives and ideas to the table, ultimately strengthening the party and its ability to connect with a broader range of constituents. Impeached deputy governors from 1999 till present. The impeachment of Philip Shaibu in Edo State has made him the 17th deputy governor to be impeached since Nigeria's return to civil rule in 1999. Shaibu, who has been in a running battle with his principal, Governor Godwin Obaseki, over his ambition to succeed him, was impeached by the Edo State House of Assembly over allegations of perjury and divulging Edo State government secrets. He has, however, been replaced by 37-year-old Omobayo Godwin. There are over a dozen more deputy governors that have been impeached since Nigeria's return to a democratic government in 1999. According to report, disagreements with their principles or alleged acts of insubordination have been common factors leading to their impeachments, highlighting the need for the roles of deputy governors to be properly defined in the Constitution and the amendment of the impeachment procedures. Ondo State is heading into the record books as the only state to have initiated impeachment proceedings against at least 3 deputy governors for gross misconduct, as the State Assembly is currently in the middle of an impeachment proceeding against its governor, Lucky Ayedatiwa. In April 2015, Deputy Governor of the state, Mr. Ali Olanusi, was impeached exactly 1 month after defecting from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. In the world of Ondo politics, leaving the party of the governor amounted to gross misconduct. Agbola Ajayi, who served as the deputy governor from 2017 to 2021, engaged in a months-long legal and political battle all through the year of 2020 to hold on to his seat, after also defecting from the political party of his state governor, late Rotimi Akeredolu. In the end, it was the court that stopped Ondo lawmakers from removing Ajayi from office. Other deputy governors impeached include Iyola Omishore, who served as deputy governor of Osun State from 1999 to 2003. They leveled a 2-count allegation against him, bordering on breach of oath of office and conflict of interest with the state government, as 17 Osun State House of Assembly members endorsed the impeachment of Iyola Omishore. Kofoworola Bokna Akirile. After over 3 years of uneasy relationship between her and Governor Bola Tinubu, the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Kofoworola Bokna Akirile, resigned her position. But the State House of Assembly, which based on the endorsement of 36 out of its 40 members had earlier commenced impeachment process against the Deputy Governor, rejected her letter of resignation forwarded to it. Next is Femi Pedro, who served as Deputy Governor of Lagos State from 2003 to 2007. He was impeached on alleged gross misconduct on May 10, 2007. Chris Ekpeyong was the Deputy Governor in Governor Victor Attah's tenure from 1999 until 2005. In 2005, he was impeached as the Deputy Governor of Akwa Ibom State, but was hurriedly returned to that position in less than 7 days. The members of the State House of Assembly reversed the impeachment after the intervention of then-President Olusegun Obasanjo, although Ekpeyong was forced to resign afterwards. Abiodun Aluko was the Deputy Governor during Ayodele Fayoshe's administration. He was impeached as 22 members of the State House of Assembly voted for his removal as allegedly found guilty of the 16 impeachable offences raised against him by the lawmakers. Still in Ekiti State, Biodun Olujimi contested her impeachment alongside Governor Ayo Fayoshe, even briefly serving as acting governor. 23 legislators accused her of collecting $50,000 from the secretary of the managing director of Biological Concepts, knowing to be from the proceeds of the same poultry project embarked upon by the state government. She was also accused of failing to comply with the decrees establishing the National Youth Service Course Scheme, which mandates all holders of the certificate equivalent to a bachelor's degree to observe a 1-year compulsory youth service program. Garba Gadi of Bauchi State was impeached after the House of Assembly found him guilty of impeachable offences leveled at him in May 2009. Peremoboe Elebi, the Bayelsa State Deputy Governor, was sacked by the Assembly as 17 out of the 24-member House signed an impeachment notice against the Deputy Governor, 23 days after it initiated impeachment proceedings against him. Ebebi, a 2-time Speaker of the State House of Assembly, was impeached for allegedly being guilty of 9 of the 10 offences listed against him. Sani Abubakar Danladi was elected Deputy Governor of Taraba State in 2007. He was re-elected in 2011. He was impeached as Deputy Governor on 4 October 2012. However, his impeachment was nullified by the Supreme Court on the 21st of November 2014, and he was reinstated as Deputy Governor and Acting Governor to serve out the term of Governor Dambaba Suntai, who was incapacitated in an air crash 3 weeks after his impeachment. Jude Agbasu was removed as the Deputy Governor of Imo State by the State House of Assembly upon the adoption of a report of a judicial panel
which investigated allegations of impropriety against him. Following his removal in 2013, the House immediately screened and approved the erstwhile Chief of Staff to Governor Rochas Okorocha, Prince Isiaka Nobi Madumere, who was nominated by the governor as the new deputy governor. However, in 2021, a state high court sitting in Owerri, the Imo capital, has nullified the impeachment of former deputy governor of Imo State, Jude Agbaso. The court said the process that led to the impeachment of the former deputy governor was unconstitutional, null and void, as due process was not followed. Sunday Onyebuchi, a deputy to former Governor Sullivan Chime, was impeached on August 26, 2014, over alleged misconduct. Eze Madumere was impeached by the Imo State House of Assembly over allegations of gross misconduct. Madumere was the deputy governor under Governor Rochas Okorocha's administration. In 2019, Simon Achuba was impeached by members of the Kogi State House of Assembly in Lokoja, the state capital. Achuba's impeachment followed the submission of a report of the committee set up by the State Chief Judge, Justice Laser Ajana, to investigate the allegation of gross misconduct against the former deputy governor. Achuba was sworn in as the deputy governor on February 9, months after he defected to the All Progressives Congress (APC) from the People's Democratic Party (PDP). The Oyo State House of Assembly on Monday impeached the deputy governor Rauf Olaniyan at its plenary. Rauf Olaniyan was impeached by the Oyo State House of Assembly. Olaniyan was found guilty of all the allegations leveled against him following the reports of a 7-man panel constituted by the State Chief Judge, Munta Abimbola. It served the deputy governor with a notice of impeachment over allegations of gross misconduct, abuse of office, and financial recklessness, among others, following his defection from PDP to APC. Lastly, in 2022, the deputy governor of Zamfara State, Mahdi Aliyu Gusau, was impeached by the State House of Assembly. A total of 20 members were present at the sitting of the Assembly as they all voted in support of the impeachment. However, in 2023, a federal high court in Abuja gave an order restoring Mahdi Ali Gusau as the deputy governor of Zamfara following his impeachment by the state's House of Assembly. The court described the act of the then Assembly Speaker, ex-governor, chief judge, and indeed others as an aberration and cannot be allowed to stand, describing it as null and void and of no effect whatsoever.
Human trafficking is an abhorrent crime that continues to plague our societies. This modern-day form of slavery involves the exploitation of an individual through force, coercion, or deception, which often results in the victims being subjected to various forms of labor or sexual exploitation in which others benefit financially. However, some victims often leave their destination country voluntarily. The majority are unaware that they are being recruited for a trafficking scheme. The victims, who are predominantly women and children, suffer unimaginable physical and psychological trauma. Human trafficking is a global issue affecting every part of the world. No country is immune, whether as a source, transit, or destination location. Trafficking network has proven to be highly adaptable, employing sophisticated methods to deceive authorities and exploit victims. Today, there are approximately 45.8 million people caught in the trap of modern-day slavery around the world. This includes 10 million children, 15.4 million people in forced marriages, 4.8 million people in forced sexual exploitation, among others. According to the 2023 Global Slavery Index report, Nigeria ranked 38 out of 160 countries, with the highest number of slaves, which is equivalent to 1.6 million people. According to NAPTIP statistics from 2019 to 2022, 61% of human trafficking in Nigeria happens internally, while 39% is generated from cross-border trafficking. The general factors that increase vulnerability to trafficking in Nigeria include extreme poverty, lack of economic opportunities, corruption, conflict, insecurity, climate change, resulting migration, and Western consumerism. Unfortunately, globalization is a double-edged sword, and that it has shaped the world's market for the transportation of illegal migrants, affording criminal organizations the ability to expand their network and create transnational routes that facilitate the transporting of migrants. Take, for instance, Traffickers now use integrated technology to build their business model at every stage of the process, from recruiting to exploiting victims. Many children are approached by traffickers on internet platforms including social media, marketplace, through job advertisement posts, among others. Globally, national responses, particularly in developing countries like Nigeria, appear to be deteriorating. Detection rate fell by 11% in 2020 and convictions plummeted by 27%, illustrating a worldwide slowdown in the criminal justice response to trafficking. The COVID-19 pandemic also changed the characteristics of trafficking, pushing it further underground and potentially increasing the dangers to victims by making crime less likely to come to the attention of the authorities. In fact, 41% of victims who manage to escape their ordeal reach out to the authorities on their own initiative, which is another clear sign that anti-trafficking responses are falling short. Efforts to combat human trafficking require comprehensive legislation that comprehensively criminalizes all forms of trafficking, protects victims' rights, and ensures their rehabilitation and reintegration into the society. Increased cooperation among governments, as well as collaboration with civil society organizations and non-governmental organizations (NGO), is crucial in order to effectively address this issue. Also, raising awareness about human trafficking and educating communities about the warning signs and prevention measures is essential in eradicating this heinous crime. It is very imperative for the country to invest in the training of law enforcement agencies, enhancing their capacity to identify, investigate, and prosecute traffickers. Equally important is the provision of safe havens for victims, offering them shelter, medical attention, counseling, and support to rebuild their lives. International bodies are vital in securing resources for victims assistance programs and implementing effective policies to dismantle trafficking networks. Citizens in the country need to acknowledge the existence of human trafficking, condemn it unequivocally, and actively engage in its eradication. Also, there must be a joint effort among citizens to tackle grave violation of human rights, offering them hope and a brighter future for the countless victims ensnared on the darkness of human trafficking.
It's the news hour on Biscon Television. I'm Stella Opara. Thank you for joining us again. First, the high points of the news. On the national scene, acting PDP chairman's removal delay worries G60 lawmakers. EFCC declares ex-governor Yaya Bello wanted. In business news, federal government to execute $3.8 billion gas supply agreement in May. On the foreign scene, Donald Trump's hush money criminal trial loses 2 jurors, 5 remain. And in the weather sports, Heartland returns to Owerri for Shooting Stars clash. Now the news in full. The 60 opposition lawmakers in the House of Representatives seeking the removal of the party's acting national chairman, Umar Damagum, has warned of the dangers of delaying the decision till August 2024. The group spokesman and member representing Idiator South, Idiato North Federal Constituency of Imo State, Ikenga Ugochinyere, disclosed this in a statement issued today in Abuja on behalf of his colleagues. Recall that the 13 PDP governors met in Abuja late Wednesday and resolved that removing Damagum from office would not be in the interest of the party, adding that instead, the party should work towards resolving its internal wrangling in some of its state's chapters. Ugochinyere also noted that the excuse often given for Damagum's continuous chairmanship was the suit instituted by the suspended PDP national chairman, Iyorchia Ayu, challenging his removal from office in March 2023, noting that following the withdrawal of the suit by Ayu, Damagum has no right to continue to remain in office as acting national chairman. Now, the Federal High Court in Kano has intervened in the purported suspension of the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, by his ward. The court order came on Wednesday following an ex parte motion filed by Ganduje, seeking to enforce his fundamental right to a fair hearing. The respondents in the application include the Police, Department of State Services, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, and 9 other individuals. Ganduje's purported suspension stemmed from actions taken by APC executives in Dawakin Ward, Tofo local government area of Kano, on April 16 over alleged corruption. In response to Ganduje's plea, A.M. Liman, a judge of the Federal High Court in Kano, issued an ex parte order on Wednesday, temporarily halting the implementation of the suspension until the case is heard and determined. He emphasized the importance of maintaining the status quo and staying in action pending the hearing of the substantive application. Now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has declared a former governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello, wanted for offenses relating to economic and financial crimes. This was contained in the notice posted on the Commission's social media page. The former Kogi State governor is wanted by the EFCC for offenses relating to economic and financial crimes to the tune of 80.2 billion naira. The notice further says anybody with information as to his whereabouts should report immediately to the Commission or the nearest police station. In another story, Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has directed the holding of a logo crafting competition between April 19 and 26th. The Osun State House of Assembly had in July 2023 repealed the state anthem, crest and flag law 2024 and replaced it with a new law which enabled the executive to come up with a new logo for the state. Adeleke had on Wednesday signed a bill adopting a new logo for the state, but the design released through the social media was greeted with criticism. But Adeleke, while commenting on the decision to have a logo drafting competition, says, and I quote, "As a listening leader, I have asked that we open the change of logo to more public input through this one-week competition." End of quote. You're watching Biscon TV News. Coming up next is business news. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Biscon Television News. Now to business news. The federal government says the gas supply and purchase agreements to support the final investment decision for the $3.8 billion Brass Methanol project is to be executed in May 2024. The Brass Methanol project is a major industrial project being built in Bayelsa State to produce methanol, a key industrial chemical, using natural gas resources as Nigeria currently imports all its methanol. Located in Brass Island, Bayelsa, the facility is to have a capacity of 10,000 tons of methanol per day when completed, as it is still under construction and expected to be operational this year. According to the government, the $3.8 billion is to create up to 15,000 jobs during construction and aims to boost the Nigerian economy by reducing reliance on imports. This project is a joint venture between DSV Engineering Limited, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, and the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board. The Minister of State, Petroleum Resources, Ekperepe Epo, announced the execution date for the gas supply agreement in Abuja after a meeting with key stakeholders of the project in his office. You're still watching Biscon TV News. Up next is Politics News. Stay tuned.
This is Biscon Politics. The Federal High Court in Akure, Ondo State's capital, today granted an order of mandamus compelling the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to publish the 2021 and 2022 audited financial statements. The court also granted an order of mandamus to publish the audited 2023 election-related incomes and expenses of all the registered political parties in Nigeria. In the judgment, the court also ordered INEC to supply the applicant Femi Emmanuel Emodonri with either hard or soft copies of the certified true copies of the 2021 and 2022 audited financial statements, as well as separate audited 2023 election-related income and expenses of all the registered political parties in Nigeria, not less than 14 days from the date of the judgment. Moving on, some stakeholders in the All Progressives Congress APC in Ondo State under the auspices of Ondo Vanguard for Good Governance have faulted the conduct of Congress elections that would produce the delegates required to ratify the outcome of the party primary scheduled to be held this Saturday. It's called on the state and national leadership of the Ondo APC to take note of what is termed as abysmal and undemocratic manner the Congress committee handled the exercise. The stakeholders accused the committee of aligning with Governor Lucky Adeidatiwa by staying away from the venues of the Congress across the state and allocated figures. Coordinator of the group, Evangelist Tade Ojo, stated that it was disheartening that members of the party that brought the expression of intent forms to contest as delegates were disregarded and left fallen due to unbridled political cannibalization of some APC members and leaders who felt they were establishing the foundation to rig the primary election of the APC. And now the Commissioner of Police in Kano State, Mr. Oseini Gumel, has urged other law enforcement agencies to maintain neutrality, uphold professionalism, and guarantee the safety and security of citizens during elections. Gumel made the call in a paper titled Democracy, the Traverse of Nigeria's Electoral Process and the Fourth Republic. He presented the paper at the annual Aminu Kano Symposium held at Mambaya House, Kano, former resident of renowned politician, late Malam Aminu Kano. He also said that the traverse of Nigeria's electoral process in the Fourth Republic underscored the urgent need for reforms that would strengthen democratic institutions, promote electoral integrity, and restore confidence in the electoral system, saying Nigeria as a nation has made significant strides in transitioning to democratic governance, yet the prevalence of the electoral irregularities, political violence, vote buying, and other malpractice eroded public trust in the electoral system. That's all on Biscon Politics.
Welcome back. Now to foreign news. The judge overseeing former U.S. President Donald Trump's criminal trial has dismissed 2 jurors as lawyers struggled to assemble a panel of 12 jurors and 6 alternates for one of the most high-profile trials in American history. Justice Juan Machen excused one juror after prosecutors said he may not have disclosed prior brushes with the law. However, Machen did not specify why he dismissed that juror. The judge had previously excused a juror who said she felt intimidated because some personal information had been made public. She said family, friends, and colleagues had contacted her after deducing she was on the jury. The 2 removals mean that 5 people so far have been selected for the jury. The decisions highlighted the extraordinary pressures around the first criminal trial ever of a former U.S. president. The Republican presidential candidate in the November 5 election is accused of covering up a $130,000 payment his former lawyer Michael Cohen made to porn star Stormy Daniels for her silence before the 2016 election about a sexual encounter she says they had a decade earlier. We'll take another short break, and when we come back, we'll bring you sports news. Join us again.
Hello, this is Biscon TV Sport News. The Nigeria Premier Football League Matchday 31 tie between Heartland and Shooting Stars will be played at the Dan Anyam Stadium, Owerri. The game is scheduled for Friday at 4 p.m. There were uncertainties surrounding the venue of the games on Wednesday. The Nigeria Premier Football League Matchday, Heartland adopted the Enyimba International Stadium, Aba, as their makeshift home ground following the ban on the Dan Anyam Stadium. The MPFL approved the Maize Millionaires' return to Owerri following an inspection on the ground. Christian Obi's side recorded only one win in the 2 matches played in Aba. The Maize Millionaires were banking on the support of their home fans in the quest to escape relegation. Heartland currently occupy 19th position on the MPFL table with 26 points from 30 games. Now, Arsenal have been knocked out of the Champions League quarterfinals by Bayern Munich, where Joshua Kimmich saw the Germans win 1-0 in the second leg and 3-2 on aggregate. It comes after a damaging 2-0 defeat to Aston Villa in the Premier League last weekend, saw them lose ground in the title race. But Arteta says despite the disappointment on Thursday morning, attention will turn to their league game against Wolves live on Saturday Night Football. The Premier League is the only trophy left for Arsenal to win this season. Arteta provided some clarity to the exit as well, adding that it can take teams years to reach the semi-finals and beyond. Meanwhile, Borussia Dortmund will take on Paris Saint-Germain in the UEFA Champions League semi-final first leg on Wednesday, 1st of May. The match will take place at Signal Iduna Park at 8 o'clock Nigerian time. The return leg in Paris is scheduled for Tuesday, 7 May, 8 o'clock Nigerian time. This was announced by UEFA on Thursday morning. And that's it for Biscon TV Sport News.
Welcome back to Biscon TV News. Now to entertainment news. Euphoria and the White Lotus star Sydney Sweeney has hit back at comments from Hollywood producer Carol Baum, who said she's not pretty, she can't act. Why is she so hot? Sweeney, who was Emmy nominated for both shows in 2022, called the comments shameful. The actress said she felt unjustly disparaged. Baum, who produced films including Dead Ringers and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, spoke after a film screening. Sweeney's representative gave Variety this statement in response to Baum. She said, and I quote, "How sad that a woman in the position to share her expertise and experience chooses instead to attack another woman. If that's what she's learned in her decades in the industry and feels is appropriate to teach to her students, that's shameful." Adding that to unjustly disparage a fellow female producer speaks volumes about Ms. Baum's character. End of quote. Sweeney recently starred in and produced horror film Immaculate. She also starred in the Netflix film Reality, based on the transcript of the FBI interrogation of reality winner who was jailed in 2018 for leaking classified documents to the media. You're watching Biscon TV News. The news continues shortly. Welcome back to Biscon TV News. Now to the major points of the news again. On the national scene, acting PDP chairman's removal delay worries G60 lawmakers. I'm Stella Opara.
As the Biscon Latino Show, BOS, the globally acknowledged leading brand in the cutting-edge, inimitable production of groundbreaking events dating back many decades, prepares to celebrate its Silver Jubilee anniversary. It's time to blow our own trumpet resoundingly, stating the qualities that have continued to endear the BOS brand to all our fans across and beyond Nigeria. In the last 25 years, the Biscon Latino Show, BOS, which is the longest-running general interest magazine program on television in Nigeria, has covered and broadcasted events of social, economic, corporate, political, and entertainment values every week unfailingly. With iconic events dating back many decades captured for posterity, BOS honors those living and immortalizes the dead everlastingly. The Biscon Latino Show, BOS, proudly boasts of being one of the broadcast outfits with the richest library of archives of past events. The Biscon Latino Show's awesome archive of iconic events parade the coverage of convocations of universities, coronations of traditional rulers, inaugurations of state governors in Nigeria, the inaugurations of Nigerian presidents, and President Barack Obama of the United States of America. 2010 World Cup in South Africa, covered by the ubiquitous Biscon Latino Show, BOS. BOS was also at the inauguration of the Alake of Egbaland 16 years ago, Oba of Benin 8 years ago, Oni of Ife, Ulu of Warri, and many more. As for the birthday, anniversary, and weddings of the high and mighty in the society, the BOS archives is replete with very exciting pan and beyond Nigerian super coverages. As for the festivals like Calabar Carnival, Ujude Oba Festival of the Ijebus, Lishabi Festival of the Egbas of Ogun State, and others, the Biscon Latino Show BOS simply is the toast of all. The corporate concerns, the banks, telecommunication companies, and other business concerns have made BOS their prime choice over the years. The newspapers, state governments would rather the almighty Biscon Latino Show give the coverage of their awards our inimitable packaging as exemplified by what we have in the awesome BOS archives. The Biscon Latino Show, BOS, is the preferred choice of state governments in the propagation and publicity of their programs to their different constituents in different states, because the Biscon Latino Show is the #1 program they've all been watching religiously in the last 25 years. In fact, the Biscon Latino Show, BOS, commissioned to provide a comprehensive nationwide campaign program for President Goodluck Jonathan, President Muhammadu Buhari, and President Bola Tinubu, which took the BOS team around the country campaigning for votes for the candidates at the time. The Biscon Latino Show, BOS, was also involved in rigorous campaign for Governor Duoye Diri of Bayelsa State, Senator Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, and Governor Gboyega Oyetola of Osun State. Incidentally, these were all clients of BOS from the two different political parties, APC and PDP. Also, in the very rich archives of BOS, with events that span over 25 years, is the one where BOS paid an everlasting honor to immortalize Nigeria's First Lady of all times, Mrs. Stella Obasanjo, who died 19 years ago. The Biscon Latino Show, BOS, the first and the best, still remains on the very top of our game.
various fields, it has also been faced with many new challenges. I'm confident that we will work together with friends from all walks of life in Nigeria to address risks and challenges, share development opportunities, and promote the strategic partnership between China and Nigeria to a new level. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
With regards to movement of persons, the 22nd March 1972 Socio-Cultural and Technical Agreement and the March 27th 1972 Mutual Agreement Cooperation permits visa-free movements for a maximum of 90 days into either country. It is of great importance, given that Cameroon already enjoys some special status in ECOWAS, and also that it has some special status agreement with Nigeria. It will be advantageous that Nigeria and Cameroon governments explore further the possibility of extending the 90-day stay agreement to a right of stay similar to those of ECOWAS member states. Given that Nigeria is Cameroon's second largest trading partner, we are talking about 13.8% after China, that a perusal and a report from the presidency of Cameroon states that Nigeria is the second exporter to Cameroon, that is 13.8%, which comes to about 1,113 billion tons, worth 400 billion CFA after China, after France, and after India, and after USA. It is also found that Cameroon exports more than 65 billion tons, worth 390 billion CFA francs. It rates 14 amongst Nigeria's top exporters. These statistics show that if we enhance free trade and if we extend the movement of persons to trade and commerce, particularly background, that I will solicit a regularization of these cross-border movements, which would boost employment, boost standard of living, raise income, and reduce inequality. Furthermore, I think if we formalize this bilateral trade, the broad-based benefits will be shared by both countries. Thank you very much for your very kind attention.
Nigerian administration in Nigeria. When the hearing was founded, that mandate was extended. And before the independence, some Cameroons and other Cameroons were given the option either to stay and become part of Nigeria or to separate independent sovereign countries themselves. Some Cameroons opted out of Nigeria to become an independent country. But other Cameroons remain as part of Nigeria. They're not good. I don't want to give reasons why that was, but I think it's important for some of the younger ones to know this, that there is a lot of historical link with us. When I was growing up at King's College, every year about 10 students will come from the Cameroons, young Southern Cameroons. And I remember the elegant Dr. E.M. when before the I think it was actually 56 conference, international conference. It was created as the fourth region with some regional governments, with some regional premier in where we had. So it's been that long. I think we need to think about that. What happens in Europe? The boy, after his parents have had children before you, and you are divided to separate, so you are special. Of course, I was always special. So we have the Honorable Consul General of India, please.
As the giants of Africa. And sometimes India is also called as some elephant moving at a pace. And recognizing that strength of Nigeria, the strength of its human resources, and India recognized it, and we invited them as part of G20 this year. And I'm sure that whatever we are deliberating now will have the more exponential power when the president goes to India and speak on behalf of Nigeria from the high table of G20. As far as our relationship is concerned, true, we are here even before the independence of Nigeria. We are here since 1958. Our bilateral relationship is that strong. As far as the economical relationship is concerned, India has been most of the time Nigeria's largest trading partner. I don't think in the current year we are, but for last 1 or 2 years we are not at the top. That may have happened because of the less oil trade probably. But we have been most of the time largest trading partner. I 100% believe in new Nigeria and the call of the president about that. And India stands shoulder to shoulder to be a partner in this aspiration and in this dream. Presently, we have 2 fully functional offices, one is Lagos and one is Abuja. And a lot of Nigerian students go for studying in India and they come back. And many people go for medical attention in India, which have been very sought after, probably what I have understood as Consul General of in Lagos. We also are very much interested in capacity building of Nigerian youth or of the government officials. We have many slots in this category. Apart from that, we are also ready to share the latest technologies with Nigeria, what we have. We have offered the indigenously developed 5G technologies. We are ready to do them onboarding on RuPay because it is understood that Nigerian fintechs are doing very great. And there is a great potential between collaboration between India and Nigeria, and there could be tech transfer. Tech transfer is also happening very heavily in pharmaceutical sectors. India supplies a lot of pharmaceuticals to Nigeria, but there can be a better way that this is manufactured in Nigeria. And I am very happy to note that many Indian pharmaceutical big companies are establishing their manufacturing units in Nigeria. With these words, I would just like to say the word of Prime Minister Modi, where India's priority is towards Africa. He said that India's collaboration with Africa is not what India wants. No, it is not our priority. Our priority is what Nigeria wants, what Africa wants, and what men, women, and children of Africa wants. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
You cannot have foreign policy without first laying a very solid foundation for your domestic environment. And it's often said, and students of international relations know this very well, that if you don't have a strong home base, your foreign policy is not likely to be as strong as it is. Now, Nigeria has always been lucky because students who refer to Nigeria's manifest destiny have said that we have many things thrust on the country just because of its objective definitions and inheritances. The fact that Nigeria is Africa's most populous country and that, as we heard today, by 2050, Nigeria is likely to become the 3rd most populous country in the world after India and China, because India is about to overtake China, as the world's largest population. Nigeria also has very huge resources. And part of what really made Nigeria thick and strong that long ago is the human resource capacity of Nigeria. Just this morning, I was introducing a couple of ambassadors to the Founding Fathers platform of the Institute, and they were surprised when I said to them, this is Chief Simeon Adebo. Simeon Adebo is probably Africa's best known public servant. He's a civil servant who trained civil servants across the world, and therefore the UN brought him to say, look, teach us these things that you know. So Nigeria has been that greatly endowed, and these are the things that make up Nigeria's capacity to play what has been described as the country's manifest destiny. Now that's important, and for good reason and measure, Nigeria has been able to climb on the basis of those endowments. But for a long time in the most recent past, we have not had a stable country. We've had to grapple with issues of insecurity, and it's been very complex and diversified. You all are witnesses to the fact that even now as we speak, there are parts of the country that are still under such great stresses arising from banditry and acts of terrorism and kidnapping, wanton killings, and violent extremism. Now, these are the kinds of issues that we are grappling with domestically. But we also have serious material issues. In fact, every time when we have described the trajectories in words that we know, we never think those things are enough. Poverty is no longer enough. Today we have multi-dimensional poverty. So when you call it multi-dimensional poverty, it carries more weight, just to remind you that poverty is aggravated and so on. So there is aggravated poverty, and at a point, we used to joke about it. They say Nigeria had become the poverty capital of the world. Now, that just summarizes the material conditions that we have in the country. In the midst of insecurity, there is so much poverty. High costs of living, high inflation rates, high unemployment rates, high ratios of children who are out of school, high rates of deprivation, and so on and so on. And that's why it is important that Professor Jinodu, as chair, has referred to the provisions of Chapter 2 of the Constitution. The Chapter 2 lays out the obligations of the state, and I think that's a good way of summarizing what should drive our domestic environment. That if the state lives up to its responsibilities in those terms, then of course our country would be better positioned to do the kinds of things. So, but that means, that above all, we must have a state that enjoys considerable legitimacy. Mm-hmm. Now, if a state doesn't enjoy such considerable legitimacy, it's going to have perennial crisis from within. And, the statements, the positions, the interventions of the state would remain perennially unstable. So legitimacy is very key to what the country enjoys domestically. And so I think that there is work, that government has to do in the domestic environment. It's when you have steadied that ship, that, you can begin to do well in the foreign space. This is important because for a long time, especially in West Africa, Nigeria, tried to sell to the rest of West Africa what Nigeria itself didn't have at home. You will recall that, we were in the forefront of the democratization drive across West Africa, in Guinea-Bissau, in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, in Mali, and all of those countries. Nigeria led the democratization drive. And President Tinubu himself has said, this is high on the agenda today. Because we have suffered reversals in this part of the world, Nigeria must provide leadership to ensure that we steady the ship of democracy and democratization. But for once, there is a credibility balance that you would expect. So when our president says we want to push for this agenda, People are not likely to look back again and say, you know, who's speaking now? Is it Nigeria where you have those kinds of problems? We have had very stable democracy for 24 years. We have crossed the thresholds established by S.P. Huntington in his 2 consecutive election, you know, criterion for democratic irreversibility and consolidation. So we are doing very well. And we have come out of very difficult elections, but we have shown that, you know, it is possible to have credible elections. And therefore, that's important. So we have goodwill going for Nigeria. Now, the point about externalizing this is to say that the global scene has never been more turbulent and unpredictable. In fact, the best way to summarize what is going on externally and internally is to say these are points of inflection. And you know, inflections are beginning points, resurrection points, turning points. These are the kinds of junctures that we are having to grapple with. Today, we are moving from a unipolar world to a world that is not exactly multipolar, but it's tending towards that. A world in which, you know, we are expanding the horizons and allowing for more powers to come in. We have America moving from its unilateralism to having now to reckon with competition and rivalry in several parts of the world. We have the war in Ukraine, which is like a convergence point of the kinds of things that remind us that the old Cold War may very well be coming back. We have a new scramble for Africa. It's not recolonization in that effective sense, but all of our resources, you know, have become the things that the world, you know, is interested in, and everyone is here. We have the sea wars also in Africa, in the Gulf of Aden, in the Gulf of Guinea, and all of the navigable waters that are trade routes for Africa have become critical junctures for rivalries and conflicts. Now, we also have transnational problems, you know, these kinds of things that countries themselves are not able to control. Movements of light arms and small weapons and so on, that's going on all the time. We have, you know, illicit, you know, trade. We have illicit financial movements. We have drugs. We have human trafficking. We have illegal migrations. We have terrorism. Now, all of these things, you know, have transnational flows and ebbs, which nobody can control. But the thing to note is what the UN has said in its SDGs, especially SDG 16, that talks about partnership. These are issues that no country acting alone can deal with, so we all need partnerships. And these partnerships have taken different forms. But even the UN itself is able to say, if you want multilateralism to work, then you must begin to reckon with the building blocks of multilateralism, which will be the new regionalism. So for us, there is ECOWAS, there is AU, there are Global South movements. Now the doors for BRICS will be opening up. You know, we have the Mint, which is still putative. We haven't quite actualized it, but it's important. And just now, India is leading the G20. That's also very crucial, and so on. Now, the point is, this is the world where we are. What stages would we be building up? What would we be doing from here? I think the challenges are challenges of the positions of inflection. The point that we are going through things, we are reinventing things, and the world has become ever more unpredictable. How do we deal with these ones? Now, many people think that these things complexify the circumstances of international engagements, especially foreign policy. But everyone knows that for strategic reasons, they also provide new opportunities because these are new things in the world. There's an evolving new global order. And therefore, we must position Nigeria to make the optimal use of the opportunities on offer. Now, that would mean, first, that in the spirit of partnership, Nigeria, knowing that we cannot do the things we used to do alone anymore, we must cement those partnership, platforms that we have, beginning with ECOWAS. And it's good that, we are entering ECOWAS at the highest point, just at the point that our new president is coming on board. Remember that, it's been said, I read something somewhere, somebody was saying we need to restructure ECOWAS because Nigeria has been not so justly treated in the realms of ECOWAS. Now, Nigeria is a big power in ECOWAS. When you give all to ECOWAS in terms of what ECOWAS wants, you cannot overkill it by insisting that Nigeria should take the dominant positions in ECOWAS. It's one of the principles that would have to be, accepted for a long time to come. Nigeria for a long time couldn't become Secretary General of the old OAU for the same reasons. You're big power. You cannot have a citizen of the United States of America becoming Secretary General of the United Nations. Those kinds of things. Big powers also have those kinds of disabilities. No, they don't give up on the World Bank. There are solutions abroad. It's also to be seen in terms of our ability to understand the issues that we take strong positions on. Research and resource think tank, the work that institutions like the NIA have been set up to do must count. I say this, and I'll just give two anecdotes, and I will stop, Chairman.
I can't stop
I'm not stopping yet.
I can't stop you.
Now, first is that, I was in Liberia in 1989-90. And in 1990 was when Nigeria decided to lead West Africa to intervene using ECOMOG in the Liberian conflict. And the map that the Nigerian vanguard ship used to get into Liberian waters across Monrovia was a 1972 navigational map. It was unbelievable, for such a great country. You didn't even have the up-to-date navigational, aids to get into Liberia. What was even worse, there were 7 of us professors that had been sent to be teachers of the president of Liberia, Samuel Doe. We didn't even know that Nigeria was about to embark on this project until much, much later. I mean, that's a dissonance, you would say. Now, today, we address xenophobia in South Africa. And we think that xenophobia is something that is targeted, at Nigerians, and that it's one way, just like we saw in Zimbabwe, that the South Africans have remained very ungrateful for all that we did. The truth is that the people in South Africa don't even know what Nigeria did, because South Africa was shut up from the rest of the world. By 1994, not VOA, not BBC, could be heard anywhere in South Africa. So the people didn't know anything about what we were doing. And, so when you say the people are ungrateful, they wonder what you are saying. It's just now like the people who are reading history books and coming to terms. They hear names like Sonny Okosun, who became very popular because he had fire in Soweto. You remember those things? They never heard them. They never saw any of those things at all. That's one. But look at xenophobia and the way we are responding to xenophobia. Xenophobia, first and foremost, that's a misuse of terminology. It's not such a racial thing, as such. We need another word, but it's exclusionary behavior. It's exclusionary terrorism. Now, that form of terrorism is not really, it's something that is embedded in South Africa's Bantustan history. Now, when the South African apartheid regime decided to create Bantustans and say to each of those individual so-called tribal groups, this will be your state, they created 11 states. And they say, you know what? God has created the human race not to be equal. That's the meaning of apartheid. Apartheid means separateness. That if God wanted all of us to be together, he would have made all of us one. But God has given to every racial category its own trajectory of development. And it would be a travesty of justice if all of us were going to be subjected to the same paths of development. So for every race, its own trajectory. And so they say to the black South Africans, you all have your own opportunities to develop at your own pace. So we'll give you 11 different countries. Now, each country, if you accept this nominal independence, would have exclusivity. So this would be your own country, nobody else comes in. So, by 1982, by 1984, by 1986, by 1988, by 1989, in Mpumalanga, in Bophuthatswana, in Ciskei, in Venda, in Transkei, there were wars of this kind. Do you understand what I'm saying? They were saying to people from another Bantustan, you can't come here. And they drove them the same way they are driving Nigerians and the Congolese and all of these people from those territories. So it's an embedded part of their history. We need to know these things. We need to know what is going on so we don't have misfits in terms of our policy making. So we must use the resources that we have. We must use the think tanks that we have. We must do research and use the research and listen to those people. But above all, we must insist that in foreign policy making, you make the best of expertise. Sometimes you hear diplomats from the rest of the world articulate their positions, and you are wondering, why are we not like this? I think we have the opportunity to reset, set the stage, and do all of that. I have refrained from saying this is where we should be in the next 4 years. I've simply just said, we need to know where we are. We need to build the capacities, and these are the areas where I think we can use those instrumentalities. One, we must strengthen our regional hold and our multilateral platforms and use them in the best ways possible. Second, we must anchor everything that we do outside on citizen diplomacy. We must protect the rights, the interests of all Nigerians and defend those rights wherever they are. Third, we must build our economy and ensure that we are secured from within. It is only then that we can take our rightful place and have a legitimate voice that would meet our manifest destiny. Thank you.
One of the young Turks. We were young Turks in the 70s too, before the DG joined us. So I'll call on Dr. Joshua Polanewa to talk on Nigeria's foreign policy challenges. You are not the DG, so you have 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
States have some kind of relation with one another, and no states in modern times can avoid the involvement in the international affairs. And this involvement must be systematic and based on certain principles. In other words, our states have to behave with one another in a particular manner, and the framing of foreign policy is therefore national interest. To this extent, that the foreign policy of a country is intended to ensure and achieve critical national security and geopolitical interests, and all of the issues that affect it to promote the welfare of that state. Our foreign policy also shows an unbroken relationship between foreign policy and national interest. And there is this umbilical cord between that binds foreign policies and national interest. And the two most significant elements of the national interest, which may be described as the core and non-negotiable interest, are security and territorial integrity and the economic well-being of the people. Apart from this category of interest, there are also what are described as secondary and millennial interests, referring to those interests which may be valuable but at times may not be too critical to the country's well-being. However, from the above, states such as Nigeria that are well endowed with population, size, enormous natural resources, are tied in a perennial struggle to translate its feasibility into influence, ascribe status to actual power, and bridge the gap between promise and manifestation. Hence, Nigeria has struggled since the turn of democracy, of electoral democracy in May 1999, to duplicate its relatively assertive and activist or radical foreign policies of the 1970s and 80s, as well as its peace restoration efforts as witnessed in the Mano River Union, especially in Liberia and Sierra Leone, as mentioned by the DG earlier. But with these challenges, many factors could be linked to this issue. We had a chaotic post-1999 domestic political economy. It became worsened since 2009 by the Boko Haram Islamist or terrorist groups' activities in the country's northeast region. Again, a docile, self-centered lost its preeminence even in Africa to South Africa, which is also seen as other giants. And even Nigeria may be the pace setter of ECOWAS, but at this level of influence, Nigeria is still engaged or seen as a contested player within the international community, especially in Africa. So as Nigeria commemorates 24 years of electoral democracy in the Fourth Republic, it is imperative to review and assess Nigeria's foreign policy challenges since 1999 till date, thereby charting a robust and effective foreign policy direction for the new administration under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The paper is divided into 6 sections: the introduction, Nigeria's foreign policy objectives and orientations, Nigeria's foreign policy doctrines, Nigeria's foreign policy traditions, which is anchored on multilateralism, then Nigeria's foreign policy challenges since 1999, and it concludes. So I move quickly to the orientations, objectives, and orientations. Nigeria at independence was quintessentially an underdeveloped country with a subsistent economy, embryonic public service, and a largely unskilled labor force. The population was slightly still poor and illiterate, and the leaders were untested. And we have the political system was not too organized. And at the same time, we were still dependent even on the colonials at that period, with the British Queen as the head of state until October 1963. So in the first 3 years of Nigeria's independence, Nigeria's foreign policy was constrained by the lingering attachment to the apron strings of our former colonial master. Nonetheless, Nigeria has had the elements of foreign policy, a dedicated ministry, embassies in select capitals, and a corps of very great diplomats who were drafted from the domestic civil service as the pioneering corps of the 12 diplomats, and they had a clear policy orientation. The first Prime Minister, Alhaji Tafawa Balewa, articulated the guiding principles of Nigeria's foreign policy at the General Assembly of the United Nations on the occasion of Nigeria's admission to the United Nations as the 99th member of the organization in 1960. I highlighted some of the principles that the defense and promotion of Nigeria's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and national independence, the creation of necessary economic and political conditions to secure the government and national independence even of other African countries, and their total liberation from imperialism and all forms of foreign domination. Creation of necessary economic and political conditions to secure social and cultural development of Africa, and the promotion of the rights of black and oppressed people throughout the world, among others. These are the elements of national interest on which our foreign policy had been grounded in the past 63 years. And in spite of the changes in regimes, the vagaries of domestic politics, and the unpredictable nature of the international system have dictated the outlook of Nigeria's foreign policy. Why some of these elements of the guiding principles between 1967 post-engagement in the politics of apartheid and liberation is Africa, and as come-of-age speech signaled Nigeria's intention to pursue independent foreign policy engineered by Nigeria's national interests. Other regimes since then have not deviated from this commitment to Nigeria's sovereignty and our rights to independent action in the international system. I also discussed foreign policy doctrines, which I may not try to buzz down, but at least within that foreign policy with myriad challenges, which over the years have delivered its expected performance and outlook. The implication of the persistence of these ugly developments that Nigeria as an actor among other state actors in the international system, we hardly adequately possess. Institutions were machinery for diplomatic engagement. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to step down. Mr. Kulawari can step down, please. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you, sir. BG, are you going downstairs? Yes, sir.
We recognize, however, sir, the crushing program of campaigning you have to endure the public. The mass public to whom you devoted your campaigns and from whom you got most of your votes neither knows much or cares much about foreign policy matters. The attentive public, who by virtue of being educated are more likely to be you are right, sir, in focusing on the mass and attentive public in your campaign with the articulation of party manifesto. Frankly, the interested public was surplus to requirement. If I may be allowed to use a common Yoruba balance, what you and your candidates did, other candidates presented I think, was not to waste your time on what is called a portfolio. And those of you who are going to know about Shina Peters popularized that program. And that was not portfolio, most of the things we use in this, sir, now that you are our president,